Well, hello and welcome to the 10th episode of MotoGirlyPops podcast. I'm Daxa.
I'm the TVRoomRaccoon.
And we're in different places, aren't we?
We are in different places. Daxa.
We've both changed location at the same time.
Changed location at the same time. Daxa, do you want to tell us where you are as clearly the most exciting location?
I'm in the Sinarco Magic Papaya Racing Team garage. Yeah, I'm very happy to be here. That's my race bike over there. I'm currently in the middle of a race weekend, so this is recording this on Saturday night. I just did my practice day. Haven't checked my lap times yet. It's on the camera, so we don't know. But it felt better. I actually opened the throttle to 100% on the straight for once, so that was good. Everyone is giving me some stick for that last round, and they're no longer giving me that stick, so that's good. Yeah, happy to be here. It's my happy place. I'm really enjoying it. The team are a bunch of sweethearts. And yeah, it's just a great place. We have 6 riders, I think, for this round, and 6 different nationalities.
What are the nationalities?
Which is also fun. We have a Dutch rider, a French rider. Me, I'm Indian. We have a Singaporean rider, a Malaysian rider, and a Chinese rider.
Hey. That is really impressive, though.
We got them all.
So you have practice today. Today, as you said, is Saturday. So tomorrow, what is happening tomorrow?
Tomorrow is qualifying and then the race. It's just one race. This is part of the Malaysia Speed Festival, which is like an amateur racing series. So there's cars and there's bikes. So there's not much time for everybody to share the track. And the car racing happens after hours in the afternoon, and it goes into the night as well with like the famous Sepang, all the floodlights and stuff that they do for the endurance races. So that those lights will be on for the car races, but we're in the morning. And yeah, it's just quali in a race, 30 minutes for qualifying, which is a really long quali session, but I think it's also like a practice session. Then you can do your practice start at the end of that, and then yeah.
Amazing.
And then the race.
For those who are doing this audio only, I really would recommend checking out the video just so you can see that Daksha is actually in a literal race garage in front of her actual bike, and it looks sick.
It's a pretty nice place to be. I am very, very happy. Not just my bike. There's all around. That's Kahwani's bike. There's Daniel Boger's bike. Tony Young's bike. Patrice's bike in the back there. And yeah, that's the whole gang. Nothing exciting has happened to me yet. So
However,
we can discuss other exciting things that have happened.
However, I just want to say, Daksha, how are you feeling about tomorrow?
Yeah.
Are we going to see another tire pressure ass penalty giving you a podium? Because I'm seated and ready.
I'm really hoping for an honest podium this time. I'm really, really hoping for one. So they decreased the time limit for my rookies category to a 2:28. So everyone can go 1 whole second faster than we could last round. So I'm hoping that gives everyone enough leeway to actually fight without getting stuck with penalties. And yeah, I would love an honest podium. A real honest, hardworking podium.
It ain't much, but it's honest work.
Yeah, I don't want this participation trophy woke nonsense. Yeah, none of that. No woke
nonsense for you.
Me. In fact, I got into it with the organizer for like half an hour. I was in the briefing room with him, just like begging him to change the rules so that I don't have to feel terrible when I'm like accepting my trophy that I didn't deserve.
You're like Pedro Acosta winning the Thai Grand Prix sprint. You're like, this is not how I wanted it.
Yeah, and he was like, you do deserve it. He's like, you do deserve it because the people who got the penalties should have self-declared to be in the higher category. And I was like, I don't know if that's true because, especially at this level, racing is not so consistent. Like, you can't just say that, oh, you went 1 second faster this lap, you should be in the next category. I don't know if that's true. Anyways, yeah, he wasn't having any of it. So,
well, by the time this episode is out, we will presumably actually know whether Daksha got a famous victory or not. But I am feeling hopeful.
Thank you. I am making a race vlog this time, so we'll see. Maybe I'll just post that, and if I do actually make the vlog, we can link it or something if that's okay with you.
Hell yeah.
All right. So, what's your new location all about? Why are you there?
I have spent the past few weeks going through one of the most difficult endeavors known to man, which is that I've moved flats, which is always hell, as everyone
Okay,
knows. You know, you do it,
I'm doing that next month.
you start packing up your shit, and you always have much more shit than you thought. And there's so much junk that you just never see unless you're moving. And after like a few days, you get to the point where you're just like, I can just burn it. I can literally just light a fire on my balcony and torch everything I own, and it would probably be preferable to this. So,
Did you?
no, but not for lack of trying.
I see.
So
Well, who knows? Maybe.
I'm currently in my new flat, and yeah, I showed Daksha before we started recording, but the rest of this room is kind of filled with like vacuum sealed bags of clothes, and there's like
Things that spark
boxes
joy.
everywhere. Yeah, it's bullshit, but at least it's almost finished.
Yeah. Well, Godspeed. And I'm not looking forward to doing the same thing next month.
Godspeed.
Assen.
Assen.
Fantastic racetrack. Can I just say? So good. So much fun to watch every time. Just really brings the sauce. We had some, like, all 3 great races at Assen.
I'm sorry to keep bringing this back up, and I promise you will not have to bear this cross forever. But your praise of Balaton Park rings even more hollow, considering it was put into the calendar between Mugello, Brno, and Assen. Like 3 of the best tracks we have on the calendar, and then in the middle of that you have Balaton parking lot.
Alright. Alright. That's enough out of you. I mean, yeah. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. That does put it into stark perspective, I think. Can't argue with that. I still like it, though. I'm not saying it's the best thing in the world.
I'm
I'm
not
just
here
saying
to
I like
kink
it.
shame, so that's fine. But yeah, let's move through Assen. Friday. We had 3 Aprilias in the top 4 at the end of the day. We had Batseki fastest. Of course, coming into the weekend on the Thursday, Mark had said in the press conference that if Bess doesn't score 37 points this weekend, it's a bad weekend for him. Which is a great thing to say about one of your competitors to ensure that he's definitely approaching the weekend with maximum calm and stability.
Yeah, that was a mental, like, bomb, I think. That was a rough one to have to contend with. I will say, though, topping practice, especially after the weekend that Bez had in Brno, it is kind of a show of strength.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's something there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Whether or not he continues to show that strength is, debatable. Yeah. So
Friday.
where were we?
I think the only remaining thing I want to
Yeah.
say about Friday, because we were expecting Aprilia to be very strong going in, was I know I'm echoing what everyone else has already said, but I was really impressed with Álex Márquez.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and this was just the beginning for him.
Yeah, and of course, like it was technically his second weekend back because he was in Brno, but he withdrew after quali.
Mhm.
Yeah, to like go directly into Q2 on Friday, I thought was really impressive. Like, it's a good track for him. Is it? I don't know.
Is it?
I know
I'm not
Brno.
sure that I
Brno
know
has
that.
historically been a good track for him, but I'm not actually sure about Assen, so I take that back. But
I wouldn't know either.
anyways, that brings us neatly onto Saturday.
Yeah.
In Q1
Which
we
Álex
had
Márquez did not participate in.
what?
Alex didn't do Q2.
Oh, yes, because yes, true. I was like, what? Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I mean, in
There's
Q1,
a theme there with the Marquez brothers and, like, managing risk at this point with their battered and bruised bodies.
I feel like they maybe are learning, but it's kind of painful to watch the learning
It's
curve.
about
It's about
it's about time.
obviously in Q1 we had kind of I feel like we had Mir and Quartararo doing the usual heroics. But then Q2, top 4 were all Aprilias. Aprilia front row lockout. I think Martin was in pole.
Yes, that's correct.
And they just looked unbeatable. Like completely in a league of their own. And I guess that's what kind of makes it funny the rest of the outcome of the rest of the weekend, when it did turn out that Aprilias would be winning everything, but perhaps not the Aprilias we had expected.
No, and I think the fact that they're so dominant in this track, kind of like that's one of the indicative things, right? Like the factory team can shit the bed a little bit, and then it's still fine from a constructor point of view. Do you think that this bodes kind of badly for the rest of the season? Do you think they're going to continue this dominance and bore us a little bit?
No, I don't.
No?
For a reason we will come to later. First of all, I feel like Aprilia have shown very conclusively that they are absolutely capable of like shitting the bed, even under the most fortuitous of circumstances. They have snatched defeat from the jaws of victory on a number of occasions already this year. And second of all, Marc is obviously on an upward trajectory, even if Assen was not great.
Right. It's interesting that you could call it an upward trajectory. It's like two victories in a row and then this.
Well, 3
Some might
victories in a
call
row
that
if you're counting the, well, 3 victories in 4 races if you're including the sprints.
right. Some might call this a downward trajectory, depending on your like how wide your data sample
You know,
is.
Marc finishing, what was it, like I think he was like P6 on Saturday, P7 on Sunday, something like that. Some might say that that is not good for a championship contender. But they are forgetting that he's up against Marco Bezzecchi, who scored 6 points in 2 weekends? Something like that?
Not just that, I feel like people always say that like a great championship fight is won in the bad days, like by mitigating the damage in the bad days. And that's kind of what he did. Like by all accounts, Assen was supposed could have been a lot worse for him than this. It could have been a lot worse for Marc Marquez than how it ended up.
Well, specifically, also, I think the points almost don't matter. That's not true. The points clearly do matter. But when I say that, I mean that you're saying that
Okay, Drew Carey.
Assen could have gone a lot worse. And for me, the worst case scenario in Assen clearly is not, Marc double DNFs or Marc scores no points at all, whatever. It's Marc gets injured.
Yeah, he hits the wall or something, or hits a bunch of really large stones that piss David Emmett off.
Exactly. And I mean, he even said, like, Marc even said that his goal for this weekend was to not be stupid and not come out of the weekend more injured than he was going in, which he did.
Mission success.
However, I do still feel like we have to give, before we move entirely on from Saturday, we do have to give some laurels to the Trackhouse Aprilia team and Raul Fernandez. Trackhouse got their first ever 1-2. All right. Do we want to
Where
wrap
were
up
we?
Saturday? I feel like Raul Fernandez, we have seen this from him a couple times now. I mean, he also won the sprint in Mugello. I feel like we have seen him win a couple of races or sprints, and all of them have been like reasonably convincing. He gets out front and then just pulls a gap. I am still excited to see him do it consistently, and I'm excited to see him do it in a bike that is like not massively OP. I feel like all the races where we've seen Raul Fernandez do well / win, with the caveat that I might be misremembering, but I feel like in pretty much all of them he has had the lead from the start. I have yet to see Raul Fernandez, who is like P5 coming out of the first corner and then has to spend a couple of laps overtaking people and fighting his way to the front and then taking off in the distance, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, that's true. Would you even go as far as to say that his wins have been handed to him on, like, a platter?
No, I think like Mugello in particular when he won the sprint there, like, you know, Bezzecchi was still in the game, Martin was still in the game, um, did GM Pecco for that matter. Like, I don't. He was just faster. I think mostly it's. I'm curious to see if he can be faster when he actually has to get past people and is more closely threatened by others.
Do you think his contract was already signed when he won that sprint?
In Mugello, no, because that was the one where when he was
No,
interviewed in part. Oh, the one in Assen.
yeah.
Yeah, I do. I do. When he won in Mugello, it definitely wasn't because he was so emotional afterwards and like basically saying that he didn't have a contract. Um, but yeah, no, I think he has his contract now.
So you don't think it was a factor in Assen?
No, I would have said that it was a factor in Assen if it was like Raul Fernandez and then two Ducatis and Pedro Acosta and then the other Aprilias, but that was distinctly not the case. It was just visibly the fastest bike all weekend.
Right, right. Okay.
Do you have anything you want to add about Saturday?
No, but I kinda agree with you, well, I'm curious, like, Ogura came in the sprint, right?
Yep.
I'm curious if why or if you maybe don't have the same considerations for Ayagura in terms of, like, OP bike and stuff for his excellent performance in the sprint, his 2nd place in Renault, and then also his victory on Sunday.
Well, I mean, part of it you already pointed out. He got second place in Brno. Where was Fernandez? He got pole in Brno. Where was Fernandez? I just, there's no denying that the Aprilia is the Aprilia is a very good bike. And I feel like Ogura also it has to be said as a second year rider rather than a what's Fernandez in his 5th year now, 6th year, something like that. I am feeling very Ogura pilled. Uh, but beyond that, I also think that the results back me up. Ogura is 30 points ahead of Fernandez, and he's in his 2nd year as opposed to I've lost track of how many years Fernandez has been there, but it's been quite a few. And he also, I mean, Ogura, as you said, he got double 2nd places in Brno. He got pole in Brno. Um, like he was on pole and got a double podium in Brno, while Fernandez was P6 and P7. I just feel that overall,
Alright, question answered.
they've just been Ogura has been more consistently impressive.
Yeah, that's when you put it like that, that's kind of worlds apart at times.
Speaking of feeling moved by Ogura, which I truly am at the moment, how did you feel on Sunday watching him win?
I was over the moon. I was literally jumping up and down. I usually don't, sully my Twitter feed with much racing stuff. It's kind of a personal account, but oh my god. I think I retweeted every single thing that there was to retweet about Ayagura, when he won that victory. And even until now, like yesterday, he flew back home to Japan and had like a celebratory dinner, and his sister tweeted about it. I'm retweeting that too. Why am I retweeting Karen Ogura? Like, what? What's gotten into me? I'm fangirling so hard. I was so happy for him. It's been a long time coming. Not really that long time coming for him because he's not been in the class that long, but like for Asia, the continent. I feel like it's been a long time coming for Asia, the continent. It's been a while since we've had a Japanese writer win, and um, here's to many more other Asian country writers winning as well. Um, yeah, just like watching the camera zooms on the two numbers on the back of his leathers for Kato and Tomizawa, and just it's just a very emotional moment. I think for a lot of people, that except Ayagura, who seems to be the least bothered by his victory amongst everybody in his immediate circle, everybody online, his family, friends, fellow. There's that hilarious clip on the Trackhouse Instagram page of Raul Fernandez jumping on top of his bike, compressing the suspension, and then Ay's hiding behind his from trying not to get splashed from the champagne on the other side of the garage, which is so funny. Like you'd look at that video and you wouldn't be able to tell which one of those two riders just won his first victory.
Okay, I have a take there because I know that the whole thing about Ayogura, being stoic regardless of what the situation is, and only answering questions in a press conference by yes, no, that sort of thing, and really not being emotionally that expressive. I know that that's kind of become a running meme, let's say. I kind of disagree. I feel like there has been a fair amount of emotion from Ayogura. Like not when he's speaking to journalists or answering questions in Park Ferme, but if you, for instance, if you see the videos of him both on the bike on the cooldown lap, but also when he's getting into Park Ferme and he's meeting his crew, like, yes, maybe he's less explosively jubilant than other riders, but there's a huge grin on his face that is not disappearing. And then it disappears when he has to go and speak to Jack Appleyard, which I'm sure says nothing about Jack Appleyard and just about Ogura not enjoying.
It could also just be speaking to how hard he has to concentrate to speak in English as well.
Yeah. No, I'm very happy for him. And it was nice to see, like, everyone was happy for him. No one begrudged him that one.
Yeah. I like the take that he is emotional. He's just showing it in his own way. I kind of agree with that. I do think that the dichotomy between him and the rest of his team is so funny to watch, though.
Absolutely. I have to say, some of the discussions I hear around him and, the comments from journalists and media and whatnot, they remind me a little bit of the discussion around the F1 driver Kimi Räikkönen, who became pretty iconic for his, one word or one syllable answers to questions, his directness both on the radio and in the media, how he was just sort of very quiet and very blunt. And I have to say, as a Norwegian person watching Kimi Räikkönen, I'm like, it's not that this man has a fun or weird personality, he's just Finnish. This is literally just Finland. When you speak to Finnish people, this is what speaking to a Finnish person is like. With obvious, yes, generalizations and whatnot. And so for me, a lot of the coverage of Kimi Räikkönen, especially in the English-speaking press, just felt like a bunch of Brits meeting a Finnish person and going, "Oh my god, exotic."
Yeah, I can see that. It's definitely the cultural difference is a huge part of it. Like, I think Mika Hakkinen is like one of the most talkative Finns you can find, and even he's like one words mostly until you really push him. But like I think if you put him on a scale of other Finns, he's like on the chatty end. But then you watch like YouTube videos of him, and he's still like barely says a word or two per sentence until you like unlock something that he's really interested in or has something to say about. I will say though, having worked with a fair number of Japanese people, it does seem that Ayagura is on the quiet side, even for Japanese people. Although I will acknowledge there is a cultural element to that as well. And I've heard from some journalists, because I wasn't around back then, that Taijiro Kato was similar as well in his reluctance to be very verbose. I also think Ogura's English is way better than he lets on because of his reluctance to speak a lot. Like, I think his English is better than maybe like quite a few of the Italian and Spanish writers.
I agree completely. All right, we spoke about Ogura.
Yep.
We spoke about his win.
Hmm.
Can I ask you to predict how many more wins he's going to get this season? Race wins and Grand Prix?
Uh, let's see. We have about half the season left, right? Another 12 races.
Yep.
Um, of those 12, he will get 3 more.
So out of the like 24 races that we have, or are you just talking Sunday wins?
Oh, yeah.
I'm
I'm just
talking
talking
sprint.
Sunday win.
I'm talking
Okay.
sprints and
I think he'll get less sprints. And let's say 2 more sprints and 4 more races.
so 6 total. I'd take that.
Right?
Yeah. I also think it's going
And
to be
most of them are going to.
true. That is true. He does have sort of a home advantage there. I also think it's going to be very interesting. I might run the numbers on this at some point to just look at the relative performances of the different Aprilias at different parts of the season. Like, clearly he has been the best Aprilia the past 2 weekends.
Yeah.
um, not that the competition was very stiff.
No.
But I think it's going to be really interesting to look back at the season as a whole and say, okay, so, there was this 6-race span where Martin was really killing it, or there was these 5 races in a row where Ogura was really on it. We also had an Aprilia 123, Aprilia Podium Lockout on Sunday. We had a Trackhouse 1-2. We had a Bezzecchi DNF.
Yeah. Do you think
And
it would have been
honestly,
a
a
1, 2,
really
3, 4 if Bezzecchi hadn't cleared up?
what position was he crashing out of?
6, I think. But it was really early.
Was it?
It was super early. He was trying to make a move on Marquez really early on.
Oh, you're right. It was like 1 lap in or something.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, I think so. I think it would have been a 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right?
I was really that was a horrible crash to watch.
Yeah.
That
Well,
just looked really ugly. And I'm glad he seems to be comparatively okay. At least nothing's broken.
yeah, me too.
I think we have to speak a little bit about the championship.
Okay.
I am wondering if anyone will step forward and bravely refuse to lose this championship. Because it feels
They're
like
all
every protagonist
right now.
it feels like every protagonist involved is just really doing their utmost to trip over their feet. I mean, but Seki's past 2 weekends, um, we will spend just a short amount of time at the end talking about Bruno and Slapgate. Can you think of anyone else in the sport having 2 consecutive weekends as disastrous for a title fight? I mean, I'm sure there's been people having, in the pre-sprint era having consecutive DNFs, but just the way in which he has done it too.
Yeah. It's a generational bag fumble, I think.
I ran some numbers on the points that everyone is at compared to previous years in the sprint era.
Yep.
And it's kind of crazy. Like, Martin, who's now our championship leader, has 193 points.
Hmm.
That is 1 point ahead of where Enea Bastianini was 2 years ago. Enea Bastianini famously was not really a title contender.
Yes.
And Marc Márquez last year obviously completely dominated, and after 10 rounds he was at 307 points, and that's, I'm not saying that people are fucking up because they're not matching Marc Marquez's 2025 season. That's
Yeah.
not where I'm at. But people are also not matching the seasons from 2023 and 2024.
I think these stats are really jaw dropping, but you do have to contextualize them within also the fact that um, a larger share of the remaining points are in the hands of other riders. It's not like they disappeared into thin air. You know, Bezzecchi is doing XYZ worse than Bagnaia in 2024, et cetera, or Bagnaia in 2025 rather. Sure, but the remainder of the riders had picked up scraps in those years. You know, the title contenders were so far ahead, even in the years where there was more than one serious title contender.
But that's where Bezzecchi and Martin should be. We
I
saw
agree.
that the first 4 weekends. Like there is no reason that they should not be doing what Ducati did in 2023 and 2024. Marco Bezzecchi, you hinted at it. Marco Bezzecchi right now is at 186 points. That is 5 points more, only 5 points more than Pecco Bagnaia had last year at this point. Pecco Bagnaia, who notably and famously had a disaster season last year. And he was only 5 points behind where Bezzecchi is now. And Bezzecchi has been like the title protagonist and favorite all season. That's disgusting.
So you're not giving any other rider credit for outperforming their station and taking points off Bezzecchi. You think this is like purely Bezzecchi fumble?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Because he's losing them due to if it was like, oh, he keeps getting P3s and P4s because Digia is winning races or Martin are snatching wins or whatever, like that would be totally different. I could buy that. But that's not what's happening. He is losing points because he is either crashing or physically assaulting marshals and then getting race bans.
Right. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like everyone else has already talked about it. And it's been analyzed back and forth and to hell. I must say it was so crazy.
You had an interesting perspective as well that you shared with me privately. I don't know if you want to share that on the podcast, but like you were drawing analogs to ways in which society often babies
Yes.
in
Yes,
other
or just
circumstances.
exactly, or certainly that's not exclusive to men, but abusive people in general. I have to say,
Yeah.
I understand that Bezzecchi apologized. I think he did that about as well as he could. I also thought he did a good job at the press conference before Assen when he was alone facing the media and just basically having to apologize for 10 minutes straight. And he seemed to, take it very seriously, understand that this was simply not acceptable, that sort of thing. However, it did really rub me the wrong way how during the Brno weekend when this was happening, people, including people in the paddock, including journalists, kept being like, yeah, this is horrible, he should be penalized, obviously. But we must also remember that at heart, Marco Bezzecchi is a sweetheart. He's really a very nice guy. Like, this is very unlike him. It's 100% besides the point, and it really rubbed me the wrong way because, as I texted you, it reminds me of how people will make excuses for people they know who act abusively. It is so easy for people to say, oh, he loses his temper when he's drunk, but he's really a great guy. And it's like, I don't care. He still did it. And I think it's so unfortunate because it feeds into these really harmful narratives we have in society about what someone who is violent looks like. That when we think of someone who is violent, who, whether that is to to a marshal or to a stranger when they're drunk or to their partner or to their kids, we picture this monstrous kind of figure, and that is simply not rooted in reality. Most people most people who are violent or who do enact violence are normal, nice people. And that doesn't mean that they're not violent and abusive. And in particular, and I mean, I don't really feel like feeding into the Simon Patterson hate trains because I think a lot of them are quite unreasonable at times. But Simon Patterson wrote on Twitter and Blue Sky that uh, Marco Buzzecchi is. I'm gonna find the exact quote because it pissed me off so much.
Yeah. Quote him directly if you're gonna go there. You may as well quote him directly.
I'm gonna, yeah, actually, yeah, give me a second. I'm gonna find it. So, like I said, I'm not here because I want to jump on a hate train against Simon Patterson. I think Simon Patterson has spicy takes online and people get rage baited in it in a way I find quite strange. But this particular take did really piss me off. He wrote while this was going on, one thing I want to stress: Marco Buzzecchi is a sweet, kind, shy kid who is a pleasure to work with. Obviously, that doesn't excuse his awful behavior today, but it's not the Marco I interact with daily, and I wouldn't tar him forever for today if he shows proper contrition. And it's like, Marco Buzzecchi is a sweet, kind, shy kid. He's a 28-year-old man. Why are you babying him? The man is almost
Also,
30. He's a grown adult.
who does this benefit as well?
And
Like
I
who
mean,
is being helped by your characterization of him that way? Like who gains anything from
and I mean, the worst thing is I kind of sympathize with Patterson's sentiment, which is that, you know, the internet rage machine gets very angry very quickly, and that 1,000 people sending death threats to Marco Buzzecchi is not the right way to handle the situation. Like, I get that, and I mean, I agree with it. But
Yeah.
again, it just, for me, it feels exactly like the sort of thing people say and write about, yeah, people who are caught hitting their girlfriends,
Yeah.
people who are caught behaving awfully and violently to their subordinates or their kids or whoever.
Yeah. And we're not to say that this is the same. We're not equivocating the two, but it is
Not at all.
reminiscent
Not at all.
of the response from the public is reminiscent of the response of the public in those situations. And that's just
Exactly.
really
Now I'm just looking at championship predictions, but I'm not making them very spicy. Okay, I'm gonna make a spicy prediction. I think Ogura will finish ahead of at least one factory Aprilia. I also, last episode, I pointed out the stat about how Mugello was the first time in 16 years that Marc had finished behind two riders on the same bike as himself. And it has now happened again. It happened in Assen. He was behind both Álex and Digia. Shout out to Álex, by the way, who finished with like
yeah,
P4.
what a ride.
Incredible, right?
His
Yeah.
P5, I think. But yeah, from P12 to P5 after not participating in Q2, after getting so badly beaten up. Maybe Sarko's gonna come back and do the same thing. Who knows?
I
Maybe
would love
being
that.
injured is in right now. After Mark's performances and Alex's,
You know, we really thought that dragging his elbow would be like the most defining legacy when it came to technique that Marc Marquez brought to MotoGP, but actually it was just injury.
yeah,
So again, yeah, that happened again in Assen. And I was discussing this with some friends, with people, and people keep making excuses for it. People keep being like, oh, but you know, but it's because he qualified poorly. He's never been good in Assen. This, there, and that. He's recovering from surgery, which is missing my point, which is that up until this year, that had not happened in 16 years, even when Marc qualified poorly, was injured, was recovering from surgery, was at tracks he hated, whatever. It's just like it never happened for 16 years, and now it's happened twice in 4 rounds.
yeah. I think it is important, and it's like the sign of what's to come. I think he's. I don't think he's gonna be able to. think he's on bad weekends, Marc Marquez is going to be relegated to, like, picking up scraps more often than not, is what I'll say
Yeah.
about that, which is just so uncharacteristic of the prime Marc that we've grown to know and love.
Can I say a final point of slander?
Sure, go for it.
Not about Mark, but about everyone throwing away points this year.
Yeah.
So, like I said, Martin and Bezzecchi, who are at respectively 193 and 186 points,
Mhm.
are way behind where the championship leaders have been in the previous years in the sprint era. The crazy thing is that they are basically comparable, and thanks a lot to our friend Javi for pointing this out. They are very comparable on points to where the championship leaders in Moto 2 and Moto 3 are right now. But Moto 2 and Moto 3 have 12 fewer points per weekend. They
Can't
don't
even
have the
sprint.
sprint.
That's
They have
so
no sprints.
funny.
Like they have a max of 25 points per weekend to MotoGP's 37, and um the Moto 3 the Moto 3 championship leader, Kiles, is at 211 points. The Moto 2 championship leader, Manu Gonzalez, is 185.5 points. And if he hadn't been given half points for the first race, it would be 198 points. So if not for the first race being half points, both the Moto 3 and Moto 2 championship leaders would be ahead of Jorge Martin, even though Jorge Martin and the rest of the MotoGP field have had 12 more points available per weekend. Actually, in a way, the points that Martin and Bezzecchi are at right now, like the point score they're at, are more comparable to what we saw from the front leaders before the sprint era. And I'm not even counting, like, Mark winning the 10 first races of 2014 or whatever. Rossi, a geriatric Valentino Rossi in 2015 was at 195 points after 10 rounds, which is more than both Martin and Bezzecchi. And he
Ugh,
was up against 3 aliens on good bikes.
that's crazy.
I think the depth of the field is much, much higher. Like, it's, almost everyone is capable of winning a race.
The floor is
The
like
floor is higher, exactly, but the peaks are fewer, let's say. I'm thinking back to I'm reminded of the interview that or like podcast recording that Pedrosa and Lorenzo did a couple years back, the one that they marketed as a boxing match, but then it was just them answering questions from each other. And one of the questions I think Lorenzo asked Pedrosa was like, "Do you think that the two of us, if we were on the grid today, do you think we would be winning?" And Pedrosa was like, "Yeah." And
not
he's
wrong.
not wrong at
He's
all.
proven it as well.
Yeah. He showed up with like after 3 years out of active racing and was just top KTM.
Yeah. He got a podium as well.
He got a sprint podium in Jerez when there was water
Oh,
coming up
that's
from the
right.
track and everyone crashed.
Right, right.
Class rider. But yeah, no, my point is just that it is kind of ridiculous that 10 rounds in, with 12 more points available per weekend, Martin and Bezzecchi are, like I said, behind where Rossi was in 2015. Lorenzo in 2015 was at 186 points, which is the same as Bezzecchi now. Not good enough.
No, but it does make for really fun watching, so I'm happy about it, and I can't wait for the rest of the season because it's gonna be a freaking hoot. I'm so excited. Every single race is like, you have to tune in. You can't I can't bear to let the race elapse and then watch the replays because any spoilers will screw me up mentally so hard just because of how exciting every new race is.
Absolutely.
So, silly season.
Yeah, I mean, we're just now finally getting all the confirmations that of the things we were told in January and February.
Yeah, we already knew this. I saw some people saying that like, uh, oh, it's Mark's fault for delaying the silly season so long. I'm like, the silly season used to be in summer.
But it's also, I mean, it was delayed because the manufacturers didn't come to an agreement
Right.
with like Smeg.
Uh, yeah, yeah, the Concord agreement.
Yeah.
Initially thought it would be delayed because of Mark's contract, but then he signed his, and then we still didn't hear from anyone until MSMA. That's true. But in the grand scheme of things, January, February silly season is really early.
None of the announcements we've had so far have been surprising because, like we've said, they were all known months ago. So the only spicy thing now is the order in which they're announced and who is announcing what. And so, for instance, Pecco Bagnaia to Aprilia is announced by both, first Ducati is saying that Pecco is leaving, and they are doing, like there are videos. We won so much together. Pecco had, an emotional post about how it was his childhood dream to win with Ducati. Very classic, someone is, I mean, he's getting fired, but he is getting fired from a team that he won a lot with and clearly is on reasonable terms with. And then you can contrast that with Martin leaving Aprilia. Aprilia, as far as I know, has still not made a post about Martin leaving.
Yeah, I
Like,
also
he's been
like that.
announced for Yamaha, but Aprilia have just not acknowledged that he is leaving their team.
Hey,
Yeah.
were we supposed to be surprised by the Holgado signing? Or did we know that already?
I was surprised when it was announced, but again, it was announced in like March. So.
Was it? Like, or was it leaked in
Oh,
March?
the Holgado. Oh, sorry, I heard Guevara. The Holgado signing.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I will remind you that I predicted that in our
All right.
preseason prediction podcast, so I was not surprised.
I still don't like it.
I think it's fun. I think
All
him
right.
and Joe and Mir is going to be hilarious.
Yeah, it's a pretty funny team. Do you think Mir's gonna clean up? I saw a bunch of people online saying that, like, oh, you new fans who don't know how good Mir is on a bike that actually works, that doesn't push him to his limits. Once he stops crashing, he's gonna clean up. Do you buy that?
No, I think the sentiment is if he stops crashing, he's going to clean up.
Right? That's what I was thinking too. It's not it's not the bike's better.
And I mean, we already went through this in the past. Like, I did the numbers, and he started crashing his final season in Suzuki. I don't know. I mean, if nothing else, I'm glad that he's getting this chance. You know,
Yeah,
maybe he
he deserves
flames
that
out
one.
there too, and it's fine. But like, if he suddenly becomes a very respectable mid-pack to front runner again, we're gonna be very happy that he wasn't just left without a seat.
Yeah. Here's a question for you. MotoGP is gonna be trimming a lot of the fat in the next couple years. Like, a lot of riders are gonna get dropped, I think. Especially after this first influx of rookies, but even the year after or the year after that, I think the next 3 years are gonna be a bit of a bloodbath for the old guard, so to speak. Do you think that they should all go to World Superbike, or do you think there are other homes for them? Like, how do you feel about World Superbike being a GP retirement home, et cetera, et cetera? Test riders versus complete retirement versus a WSBK career. Like, what do you like to see? Maybe even broadcast. Is there anyone who you think might get cut soon that might be good on the broadcast?
I mean, I would love to see Marini or Miller on a broadcast. Not gonna lie.
Oh yeah,
I feel like a sensible team will pick up Marini as a test rider. He seems to be possibly getting dropped. I don't know how like what are you thinking about it?
I don't know because I remember being really glad that Oliveira got a World Superbike seat, but I don't know if I feel the same about like Vinales. In a way, I kind of feel like Vinales is above that.
Yeah.
Like, he should just retire and do something else. But it seems like he just loves riding.
On one hand, I think Maverick Vinales would probably be an awful test rider because he just, at least by what someone like Peter Baum is saying, just seems very all over the place with his feedback. And when everything clicks, he's God, and when things don't click, he's awful, and he can't explain the difference. But on the other hand, I would love to see Maverick Vinales in some sort of role where he gets to do wild cards.
Oh yeah,
I
that'd
think
be
it'd be
fun.
hilarious. I think he could just show up and do like 3 wild cards every year, and one of them he would just be on the podium out of nowhere, and no one could explain it.
That's pretty funny. I also think that, like, Jack Miller would make a good Hollywood stunt rider.
True. I mean, Jack Miller, I could absolutely see in World Superbike,
Oh yeah, true.
and and they need him. after Top Rack left. Like, they have no superstars left.
That's true.
No offense to Buliga.
That's funny. Yeah. Poor Booby.
How are you feeling about Sachsenring?
I'm excited. I think that it's going to be a Marc-sterclass.
You ready for the Marc-sterclass?
Yeah, I'm absolutely ready for the Marc-sterclass.
I mean, I think Brno wasn't a walk in the park at all. I think, him winning in Balsam Park was like, okay, not easy, but we should have predicted that. But Brno looked like an effort, which of
For
course makes it
sure.
all the more impressive. But
Right, but an effort that he succeeded at. So when it comes to
yeah,
Sachsenring, I think it's going to be a little dicey for everyone else in the paddock. I'm really curious to see how much like the Aprilias can bring the fight to him there, because it's also kind of a tight track, a la
this
Balapon.
stop and go. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was considering going to Sachsenring. The travel distance is not that far, but I am not going to be able to have the time, unfortunately, which of course also substantially boosts Mark's chances of winning. So you're welcome.
Yeah, you're right. True. Thank you.
All right, I have to
All
run.
right. Yeah. Yes. Goodbye. Nice to see you all. Thank you so much for watching again.
Bye. While you were gone, I shared like the sickest stats you can imagine. I told everyone the dark secrets of Luca Marini's future.
What?
I predicted the full
What
championship.
oh my lord. What have you got what have you got us all into?
I'm not gonna say what I said. But it will get us canceled. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, great. I've always wanted to be canceled. Thank you for that.
I aim to serve. Actually, you want to know what I think about this recording?
What?
I think we are the Factory Aprilia team. I think we are. I think we are. I think this recording in this episode is gonna look as consistent and convincing as Martina and Batsaki's championship campaigns. I feel like from today you could make like a blooper reel that would be like twice as long as the actual podcast.
Yeah, totally. You totally could.